Perfect. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another excellent webinar. We're joined by Peter Voigt today, CEO of Clean TeQ Water. I'm very excited to be having a good interview with you today, Peter. Seems like it's been a while since we've had a last chat, and obviously there's been a lot of the story has been developing in the lithium sector, which we're happy to have a chat about. Members and guests, obviously, we've had a lot of questions submitted previously about the company. There's a lot of new investors, but also old shareholders that would love to ask you questions towards you, Peter. But I think initially, before we do get started, just a bit more about yourself. Obviously, you've been CEO for Clean TeQ Waters for a while now. What got you started, and more or less, what's your history with regards to yourself, anyway?
The history is fairly long, I'm afraid, Lachlan. I started the company right back in 1990. So that was one of my, I guess, goals in life, was to start up a company that I thought was going to be able to impact both environmental issues, but also do so in an economic way. So back in 1990, kind of clean tech, environment, always was going to cost money. So people didn't see that connection. Nowadays, I think people very much see the connection between economy and environment, especially as we're moving into this kind of renewable energy space, decarbonisation, et cetera, et cetera. Technology is the driver of these things. And so it's really important nowadays to have the right technology in the right space. And that's what Clean TeQ's all about. It's all about innovation. It's all about getting technology that people can see the future as being, shall we say, rosy, as opposed to on the other side. So
yeah, absolutely. Because obviously Clean TeQ has developed a technology to address the scarcity issues of global water. But how big is the issue, and how are you addressing it?
Look, global water is one of those things. The problem with water is it's free in most cases, almost free. And so people don't recognise the, shall we say, the problems that exist out there at the moment. You know, it's water everywhere, as we say, but not a lot of it's drinkable, or not a lot of it's usable for agriculture. And so what we've done is we've taken that kind of 0.3% of fresh water that's available to us over the past 200 years, and we've polluted it fairly badly. And so there's not more fresh water to be made. So now what we have to do is figure out how are we going to take the fresh water that's available, repurpose it, reuse it, etc. And that's where Clean TeQ wants to sit. We're sitting in that area which says, look, you've taken fresh water, you've polluted it. You can't just throw that away. You've got to find a way now to repurpose and reuse that water. And so that's the big goal for us. And that goal now is global.
Yeah.
And how big is it? It's huge. And regulators at the moment are really kind of, they're fighting with, well, how do we make this happen? But I'll give them their dues. We're starting to see regulation now, which is putting value on water, especially coming from Europe.
Okay, so mainly European governments are definitely stepping up on that.
Yeah, they definitely are. Over the past year, we've been working quite hard in Europe, would you believe, not in Australia, but in Europe, with demonstration plants. So we're looking at pollutants such as sulfates, phosphates, nitrates. These are all the things that have got into our freshwater reservoirs and are now being recirculated within those reservoirs. The regulators are saying, no, we can't have over X. We've got to clean it up. And so that's where we're seeing now some of the big, I guess, opportunities for us going forward.
Absolutely. But with big opportunities, obviously, there would be a few other people out there also doing it. Who are they, and why are you guys different?
No, absolutely. There are a lot of others. I mean, some of the biggest water companies in the world are out there doing it. The Suez, the Veolias, the Accionias. These are kind of government-sized companies. The difference with us is Clean TeQ's like that little speedboat that sits beside the Titanic. So we're going to the problems. We're going as fast to the problems as possible. And we're trying to solve the problems with a different mindset. We're trying to solve the problem with the mindset of, hang on, we've got to maximise the recovery of the water we use. We've got to minimise the energy inputs and the chemical inputs we use. And so our offering that we have and the technology we have is quite different to everyone else's. So that's both a blessing and also, though, a bit of a curse, because you have to actually demonstrate the technology to your customer and prove it to your customer. So that means that our path to market is sometimes a little longer than what we'd wish, but all of a sudden, I'd say in the past, say, 12 months, we're now seeing people appreciate the technology for what it really is. It can solve the problems that the conventional technologies can't solve. So to me, that's the differentiator. Is the big companies don't have this technology. We do. We're going to have to, I think, get a lot better with partnerships with the bigger guys, because the problems are quite large. And at the moment, we're a micro cap. We want to grow, obviously, fast. But I think that one of the things we're doing in the future is we're looking for those essential partnerships which allow us to operate globally.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because you've basically, from your opinion, you've optimized the system.
Correct. Yeah. So I think in all areas we've got, I think the best technology globally for the recovery of water that has been lightly polluted with many of these things I talked about just before. So I think really the go-to-market part of what I'm trying to do, that's the big issue now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for those new investors, where are you more or less focusing at the moment? What are your key focus sectors?
We got three big focus sectors at the moment. First one is freshwater and freshwater reuse, which I've just talked about. The second one is in mine management and mine tailings management, which is a technology which is called ATA. It's rapid dewatering technology. We're working with all the major miners globally with this technology, with the aim of them seeing the demonstration and seeing the beauty of this technology, A, to recover their water very quickly for reuse, and B, that the tailings that they produce will be safely stacked. In other words, we're really saying no more tailings dams, no more wet tailings dams. That's where the disasters come from in the mining sector. That's where they get all their big black crosses from. So, and we're working with the likes of BHP and their Think Differently program. We're working with Anglo in South America. And we're also working with some of the big gold companies in South Africa. Again, the demonstration phase does take time. And so you need a little bit of patience in this area to be able to move through. So our investors, if they're looking for that quick buck return tomorrow, that's not who we are. We're here for the long term. We're here to solve these big problems. And with patience, our investors will see long-term returns. There is absolutely no doubt about this. And the last area that we're dealing with is lithium. So again, we've used our base technology, our underlying ion exchange technology, to produce what I consider to be probably the most advanced of the direct lithium extraction technologies that are out there in the marketplace. In the past 3 years, I've been traveling around the world to the direct lithium extraction conferences and talking about our technology. So people are now recognizing that we can bring a lot of added benefit to their lithium project. And you're going to need these benefits because the lithium marketplace at the moment is quite immature and it's moving all over the place. The prices of lithium carbonate are, one day 70,000, next day 10,000. So I can tell you from a long-term perspective, you have to be in a certain band range for that lithium carbonate to be there in 5 years when it's really needed. And so we're setting ourselves up now for that next 5 years and to have, say, 3 or 4 major projects in the lithium space where our technology is embedded. So the first one is Lithium Bank. We've got a tech for equity deal going with Lithium Bank. We've built our pilot plant. We've sent it to Canada. We've commissioned it. And as of 3 days ago, it is now running brines from the Boardwalk project through that pilot plant. So as we speak today, we can see the results coming in on the screens here in Melbourne. And I think it'll be really great for us to talk about that maybe in the next couple of weeks as to how that pilot plant is run.
Absolutely. Would love to hear it. Would love to hear it. And so a bit more on the lithium side of things. Obviously, you're a part of a joint venture company, Go To Lithium.
Correct.
What's the purpose of this company, and realistically, what's the story behind being a part of it?
Look, the reason why we set the joint venture up is, again, we wanted to be in the marketplaces where the technology was going to be used. And it's not Australia. Australia is a hard rock mining place. Our technology is all around water, which just happens to be the brines that sit underneath the South American, North American, and European in their aqueducts underneath. So we're much more associated with them. We're also associated with maybe the lower end of the concentration brines. So we wanted to have a technology that was able to take low concentration brines, which are all undervalued at the moment in terms of their asset value. If you're going to play on the other end, it's all overvalued. So we didn't want to play on that end of the marketplace. So we're playing in that undervalued end of the marketplace and showing that you can take 80 parts per million lithium and turn that into an economic outcome. And we wanted to do that in an area that was geopolitically stable. And so that's why we chose Canada, because really Detroit is going to want its lithium close to where Detroit is. So that's why we're sitting there. And what's more, the big oil companies are all now surrounding this area, right? Because these plays look very, very much like unconventional gas plays. They know how to operate these things. So it's up to us, I think, and Lithium Bank and people like that, to get these assets into a stage where the oil companies can see the value in them, and they will then either buy, co-invest, etc. And then the values will really appreciate at that stage.
Absolutely, absolutely. So really taking advantage of the area that you're in by almost demonstrating possible. Yeah, wow, that's excellent. Well, beyond lithium, we can talk about water purification as well as being in front of the business. What specific about the technology do you use to address water purification or the conservation at least, and how does it work for you guys?
If you're talking technically, economically.
Economically.
Yeah. So economically, it's all around it's all around the cost of energy and the cost of chemistry.
Yeah.
And so what we've done with our technology is we've optimized and minimized those two aspects. To me, that's the real beauty of what we do. And it's about recovery. So you have to have a high performance solution, and that high performance solution has to be delivered at the lowest cost. And that to us, they're the two drivers of how we look at water and how we look at mining tails and how we look at lithium. We look at it through exactly the same eyes. And although all those things may seem quite disparate at the moment, they all have the same underlying technologies that sit behind them. And so, there's 25 years worth of development behind these programs that we're now bringing to the fore. And maybe the investors that are here in the last 2 or 3 years haven't seen that journey, but that journey's been long and hard. It's got its ups and downs. The thing that I can say about today is that the marketplace and Clean TeQ are looking very close together now. We're not seeing the big gap that we used to see. Now, I think over the next 6 months, investors will be pleasantly surprised with the sort of advances that we're going to make, especially with customers and commercially.
Absolutely. And so I think that's probably a question we could broaden a little bit more on. Is we talked about partnerships before and more or less going through that. What is the pipeline and what are the meetings? Where are we trying to focus on mainly? Obviously, it sounds like lithium is a sector that we could be taking a lot of advantage of right now. Is there other sectors as well that we're looking to take advantage of as well?
Look, those three verticals I talked about, all of them are enormous in terms of their market size. So the most important thing for us is to get traction within those markets and have the demonstration of the technology at a level that enables customers to make investment decisions. So that's really where we're concentrating, okay? Now, that means sometimes that you don't see lots of big projects coming through the front door for periods of time. And that has happened in the past, I'd say 6 months. that we have been really consolidating and working hard behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and investors sometimes get a little bit wary of that. The other thing that's a bit of a problem in this area is that when you're dealing with new technologies that offer customers big advantages, you end up signing NDAs until the cows come home. It's really hard for us to discuss openly what we're doing. So it makes life difficult, especially given there's a lot of ASX rules around what we can announce and what we can say as well. So all I can say is that in the area of water, in the area of mine tailings, and in the area of lithium, all of these at the moment are highly prospective for us. And I'm expecting us to be able to say good things about these in the next 3 months or so, that I think will bring to light a little bit more about what's been happening behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And so at the end of the day, what's your revenue model then? For those new investors that are here today, how do you price your products and your services?
Right. So there's probably 3 different models that we're running at the moment. We're running that equity model.
Yeah.
So the equity model means that we don't really monetize until that asset monetizes. And so that's not a cash flow producer. And what it does is it's basically cost neutral, but when it does cash, it cashes in a big way. So that's the model number 1. Model number 2 is we still do what we call engineering and manufacture and delivery. And so that's a margin business. But that margin business is lumpy. So it really, it's a business that it's great to be in if you're at the top end of town. We're trying to move away from that model, maybe to a little bit more as water as a service model, where we deliver water at $1 at a cost per cubic meter.
Yeah.
So we're still investigating and learning about that market, and as we're doing that, we will continue to deliver projects. But the last one will be in the ATA, in the mine management area. That is a licensing model and basically a consumable market. And so as soon as we sign a contract on that, we will be signing a contract around, let's just call it, it's easier just to say $1 a ton, a dry ton. So if we're in a mine and that they have a ton of tailings to go out the back door and our technology is used, then we'll make $1, and out of that $1 we'll make a margin.
Yeah.
So that becomes then an ongoing annuity stream. And they just build up one on top of the other, because most of these mines have got 20 to 40 year mine life. And so we see that as also being a different style model. So we're running 3 different models in those areas.
So just on that then, who's been your primary customers at the moment, and more or less your long returning customers for you with their projects then?
Yeah, so the customers at the moment that we've got in the area of uranium, we're seeing quite a lot of uptake of the technology. We're working with Heathgate at the moment, Resources, and supplying them a uranium extraction plant there. And we see that as probably being something that will be ongoing. And in the water area, the Middle East, I think, is going to become quite productive for us. The plants that we're building, the high recovery reverse osmosis plants, they're really needed. And so when we talk to our Middle East partners, etc., we see that as being an area where we think that quite a lot of, I think, future income will be derived. But I don't discount Europe as well. Yeah. And at the moment, we are dealing direct into Europe. We have one partner in there, which is Enva. And with Enva, we're doing phosphate recovery. Enva's a fertilizer type company. And so we're looking at the phosphorus cycle, recovering phosphorus, put it back into the farmer's hands, and round it goes. But we'll be looking for, I guess, partners within Europe that will be able to deliver our technology over the next 2 or 3 years.
Wow. Wow. Well, that sounds definitely like a few milestones we look towards in the next 2 or 3 years as well. Where is going to be the biggest growth area for you guys over the next 12 months? Where should investors be looking towards over the next year period?
Look, lithium itself, yeah, and our technology is so well shall we say, focused into the low lithium markets around the world, that I think there's probably going to be a big a change there around that. So I think that's one that they can look forward to. We're not always going to do technology for equity, because once we start dealing with the big guys, they're not going to do a technology for equity play. So we'll flip into a licensing royalty model under those conditions. And I think that's where some of the big gains might come from, but they're not going to be tomorrow, because lithium is going to stay in excess probably for the next 2 or 3 years, but we're all going to be looking towards 29, 30. That's when life is going to become very interesting for the players. So again, I think in the short term, you'll see water and mining being the main game. And then longer term, you'll see lithium coming into its own very much.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Well, we do have a few questions that came through a little bit earlier from some investors previously. One was, can we provide a commentary on the progress of the CDLE pilot operation with Lithium Bank in Calgary?
I just gave you a bit of a clue.
I love it. I love it.
So the answer is it's running today on real brines. And in the next couple of weeks, I think people will be updated.
Absolutely. Love to hear it. We had a question come through with regards to the demos. How long are the demos in general? Is it a 2-year process? Is it a 6-month process? How long are you providing those demos for?
In our world, once we look at the larger projects, right, and to us, a larger project might be, say, 10 million bucks, something in that order. It generally takes a cycle life of around 18 months to get to that contract signing. So from the time we talk to the customer, introduce the technology, do the demonstration, get the customer satisfied, get all the performance guarantees that are in place, that's an 18-month cycle. So you can see the things that are coming now to the fore have been 18 months in the doing. So that's the sort of time frame where the majority of our projects go through. They go through that sort of gestation period.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Well, we might see if there's a few other questions that want to pop up before we seem to wrap things up. But Peter, I think from an investor point of view, obviously revenue is going to be a big thing that people are going to be looking towards over the next 12 months. What can we be expecting in those sort of regards? Are there deals that we should be really focusing on, in not just lithium, but anywhere else?
Yeah, no, we've got a laser focus on 4 or 5 projects that we've been dealing with now for the past, as I said, how many months? Quite a few months. And the idea now is to bring those up. So I think that, again, I think our shareholders will be quite delighted when we start bringing the first one in, et cetera, et cetera. And we are very, very hopeful that we will have some good news for everybody in the next couple of months, that's for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. We did have one question just come through. Do we have an idea on when we want to be cash flow even, for example, at the moment?
Look, it was my grand desire to try and make that happen last year, but it didn't. There were mitigating circumstances around what happened there, but certainly for this year, definitely.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what number one. Get to cash flow break even has been my goal since the day I put my backside down in this seat. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater either.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Well, just before we end, Peter, do you have any final comments for existing shareholders or for new investors today?
Look, I think number one, we had a small equity raise not so long ago, so thank you for everyone that participated in that and for our shareholders who came along. That we really do appreciate their backing. Number two is that we are a technology company. Technology companies have fairly long gestation periods, but the market and the technologies are coming together. So from a shareholder perspective, I think that our time is coming. We've said that a number of times though. This time, I think though that we've got our finger on the pulse a lot closer to where delivery will be seen. And I think that the other thing that's kind of important is that we're not having now to push into the market. The market is now coming to us.
Yeah.
So there's nothing worse than being a technology company and trying to do market push. It just doesn't. But market pull is now something that we're seeing quite a lot of, and to me that smells of the turning point, and I think that turning point is definitely coming now.
That's great to hear. Great to hear. Well, thank you for your time then, Peter. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you this morning. And ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen the full interview with Peter, it'll be up online so you can watch that. But apart from that, we might see you all in the next webinar. So thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to speaking to you again.
Good. No, thanks very much, Lachlan. Thanks to everyone that took the time to listen.
Thank you. Bye.